and to your right is the
side.
yeah, it's the side that's
Okay.
leading towards an exit out.
Okay. Could you just tell me at what gates the two Skylink nodes are located?
Do you know the gate numbers?
Okay. The node to the left on the screen is in phase 1. The gates associated with that are 14, 15, 16, 13. So there are 4 gates. So I believe it's 13 through 16. On the right, that's the south node. That actually, I believe, includes 30 through 33.
I'm holding one of the LODs that were, of course, part of the RFP, and it's showing what's been referred to, I guess, as curtain wall by some people. I call them wing walls at the storefront. It's defining an opening, and it's giving a dimension for some construction of some sort, which I assume I'm seeing here. Am I seeing in this some type of construction parallel to the storefront with this glass or lighted display we're seeing here? And is that part of the criteria, even if you had a tenant, a food tenant that had a counter that went straight across the storefront, 3'6" behind the lease line? It creates kind of a dead space where you would normally pay, perhaps, on one side or the other of your tenant space. I wonder if anyone's thought about how that kind of construction affects a food and beverage tenant.
You're talking about an occupancy where you've got a counter in that opening with a step in from the concourse? Again, the objective is to allow the concessionaire an opportunity a creative opportunity to, within that neutral frame that you're seeing here right next to that glass, running up over the ceiling and then back down, from that edge in, the idea is that the concessionaire can build whatever he needs to create an expressive environment. Now, what you're saying is, you know, there's a dead space in that corner where you step back. Well, actually, it's not a dead space. As you can see here in this bookshop example, they've done the same thing of stepping back in. They've created a side display cabinet there. They don't have to do that. That's one of the strategies that can be followed. You can do the very same thing with a burger counter, stepping that in. You suddenly, what we've discovered is people are walking obliquely to these occupancies. You almost have an advertising type opportunity on that side jam that you're creating by stepping in to advertise whatever you want, your menus, your branding. In this case, we put books there as a book theme. It actually, in contradistinction to being a dead space, it's actually a very lively retailing branding opportunity for the concessionaires, and that's very much encouraged by the criteria in those guidelines. Again, there's within the criteria the intention is to make that as expressive as you can to convey your sales to the public out there, and that intruding type of architecture, that retail opportunity in that 4-foot zone inside of that neutral frame in combination with your blade sign is your number one opportunity to display yourself and your wares to the world. Okay, I think that's the rest of your questions. If you could, like these, write them down on your cards and submit them. We can answer them and post them on the website. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for your patience.
Okay, I know that a lot of you are aware of the tenant design guidelines. Some of you have probably already downloaded what was just recently posted earlier this week. That has a lot of the information, and the purpose behind the concession guidelines is to give you the roadmap and the rules in which to play in. Also allows you information to help guide your design. So the purpose, to familiarize you with all the different potential options, the various special conditions. It helps outline the utilities coming to your space. It outlines what's being provided by the airport versus what you are responsible for. It really is your roadmap. We've gone through a lot of exercises to modify the language, modify the exhibits, so that it portrays what was positive about the Terminal D program, also making allowances for the differences that occur in the other 4 terminals. So its contents, description of existing conditions in all terminal buildings. You'll notice there's a matrices, and Stephen just went through various different design conditions. These will outline those different conditions. There's also a matrix that talks about the different utility packages being delivered to the lease line itself or immediately adjacent based on the type of concessionaire going into each of those spaces. So construction standards for all retail operations, responsibilities and procedures as they relate to various issues. Code, I know Code is going to speak shortly, so you may have a lot of code questions, and you can ask those at that time. Sustainability is a big effort here at DFW. What you've downloaded now, actually, there's a statement that's going to be amended and posted related to sustainability. The current language actually states that they encourage adherence to the sustainability guidelines that DFW has put out. That language will change to be required. And I know that is a big impact to a lot of you. It's an impact to the actual program for the rest of the terminal as well. But it's an effort, and that DFW is really focused on relative to sustainability and the image that that creates. Accessibility standards, submittal requirements and procedures. You're also going to hear a lot about permitting. Dwayne Brown earlier touched on the processes, the fact that you're going to be working when you do build out your concessionaire spaces, that you will be inside a construction zone controlled by a CM at risk or a CM or a GC that has control under their permit for that space. There's going to be a design review process. Some of you are familiar with submitting something to the airport for review relative to the concession space. And the maintenance of building systems, what's your responsibility versus the airport's? So from a shell-like area, what you will be receiving is what we just talked about by the gentleman who just asked the question relative to the wing walls. There is a terminal architecture that will be finished out. To your question over here, it does finish out all the way to that stainless steel neutral frame. So you will have a neutral frame in place whenever you receive that space to build it out. Inside the space, you'll have exposed interior demising partitions. It'll be open to the structure above. The wet pipe sprinkler system, due to the nature, it's going to be installed with the heads turned up and allow you that ability to modify it to meet your requirements. This is a big change relative to the utility deliveries. A lot of times in the past, you've been asked to go and get your utilities and bring them to your space. You'll notice in the utility matrix that the different utility packages will actually be brought up to your lease lines or immediately adjacent. The food and beverage to have grease lines at or near lease lines. So there's a lot of information in the design guidelines themselves. A lot of questions have been asked about the blade signs. I think I have kind of gone over a little bit as it relates to the blade sign itself. The armature and the frame will be provided by DFW. Your responsibility will be for the inserts that create the brand. The neutral frame, again, is provided by the DFW program. We're maximizing the height, which is very key to your branding opportunities. Whereas in the past, you've had up to 9 feet. Now you have up, in some cases, all the way to 14.6. We're actually taking that neutral frame all the way up to the existing structure to maximize your ability to brand. The railing system is probably one of those things that will come out in an amendment to give you further clarification on, but there will be control relative to the general nature of the railing system, but the railing system should also have the flexibility to allow the branding opportunities for that concessionaire as well. So all these different considerations are coming into account, and we will be issuing an addendum on several things as it relates to railing or other items.